So for, this is being recorded. So once again, my name is Margie Franker. I'm the president of the Marble-Coldwater um, a Clean Water Partnership. The rest of my board members aren't on right now, but I knew it was they weren't going to be able to make it. We had some are traveling. We got graduations, and I'm not sure if Greg is joining us yet or not, but we'll go ahead and get started and go through the information. A lot of times I have a PowerPoint presentation. I do not today. Um, but I'm open to feedback on what, people think is best. Sometimes the PowerPoint presentations kind of get boring. So I'm just going to try to run through these updates, very quickly. So our agenda today was an organizational update, a financial update, watershed management plan update, monitoring update, outreach update, and then I'm going to demo an all eyes on the water program. We're going to talk about Score the Shore program. These are two big initiatives that are really going to help us out with watershed management planning. So I want to make sure we cover some quick demos on that. And then we'll talk about our upcoming meetings and events, and then we open it up for further discussion.
Sounds good.
Okay. So the organizational update, we're continued building local involvement for the watershed management plan. And we recently welcomed a new board member. His name is Levi Blair. He's owner of JL Landscaping. And Levi just completed the Michigan Shoreline Partnership for Shoreline Bioengineering certification. So he's going to bring valuable shoreline restoration expertise to the group. And we're also hoping to elect a new board member on Tuesday night. We're continuing outreach to recruit more local businesses, farmers, and to participate in the partnership. But, if riparians are also interested in joining the board, just please reach out to me. We still have a couple seats to fill on the board. So let me know if you're interested in that. Financial update. This is really exciting news. We have our fiscal sponsorship agreement has now been signed with Friends of the St. Joe River Association. We're currently working through the logistics of rerouting the contributions from our website to Friends of St. Joe. We've also completed the full 501c3 application. We have not hit the submit button yet. We're getting close to doing that. But right now we have to organize all of the required attachments into a single PDF file for upload. So we want to make sure that everything is complete and well organized before we hit that submit button so we can avoid any delays or requests from the IRS for additional clarification. So we'll be hitting that submit button very soon. However, with the fiscal sponsorship, now we can immediately allows us to formally accept tax deductible donations while our 501c application remains under review. We're hearing that could take up to 10 months, but we're hoping if we, turn in a real clean application and everything is well organized, we'll get it done sooner than that. But in the meantime, we have our sponsorship, so it's all working out great. The watershed management plan development update. We've have RFP development and consultant outreach activities have been underway. We've already been talking to consultants. We've got some really great advice from Progressive, and they're willing to work with us on on doing inventories and field testing as as the money comes in. Okay, so fundraising is still a challenge for us. We're, hopefully now that we're tax exempt, the deductions will be tax deductible, I should say. We hoping that our fundraising now picks up. So we are also hoping to have our first steering committee meeting before Labor Day weekend, and we are trying to have that in person instead of via Zoom. And so we have to work out the location logistics. But once we have all that worked out, we will get, we'll get that scheduled shortly and get the notice out to everybody. That is actually going to be a fun meeting. We've got some experts that are going to come in and help us facilitate that meeting. And we met them last week at the Michigan Lakes and Streams Conference, and
Good.
they actually make these meetings a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that meeting.
Margie, when did you say that meeting was again?
The steering committee meeting.
Yes.
We don't have a date for that yet. I have to work out the logistics of a location and then make sure that coordinates with these experts. It's actually
Good.
somebody from Michigan Sea Grant is going to come in and facilitate the meeting. So still working that out, but I'm hoping to have that have a date for us before Labor Day.
Okay.
So that's the goal. I
Sounds
want to
good.
do it, while people are still up there for the season. Some
Absolutely.
people, will be departing for, other locations after Labor Day. So we want
No
to,
question.
get that while everybody's in town.
Okay.
Okay, so monitoring update. The monitoring season officially begins next week, but I really need to retract that. It actually already began, and Jack's on the call. Him, and Greg were out doing monitoring, right after ice out to get phosphorus. So it actually had already began. But the other parameters are all going to start next week. And so our volunteers have been recruited and they've trained on SECI monitoring, exotic aquatic plant, easy for you to say, right? Exotic aquatic plant watch and score the shore. Okay. And then our three volunteers, that's Jack Sanderson, Terry Stewart, and Greg Cavey. They will be covering our advanced parameters, and that includes dissolved oxygen and temperature, phosphorus, and once again, that already started in the spring, and chlorophyll. Okay. Monitoring kits and equipment was picked up from my core last weekend. So we have, so our three leads will have all of that equipment. Um, the lead volunteers are coordinating all of the lake coverage to make sure that we're meeting all of my course requirements and getting the data that they're requesting. And then that equipment, the scheduling of the equipment is going to be a little bit of a challenge. For example, we only have one dissolved oxygen meter that has to be shared amongst the three leads, and they have to, cover this for all seven lakes. So they're working that out, and they're doing a great job.
How many monitoring volunteers would you like to have?
Well, the more the better. I think right now we have, oh, I just sent that out. You know what? We'll see shortly when I do a quick demo. I know I have more. I have at least 10 signed up properly, but I have others that said they're doing it. They just haven't, filled out the contact form or whatever,
Hmm.
or so, I would, we could probably eventually to do the score the shore, we're going to need about 40 volunteers. So we're
Okay.
still actively trying to recruit for that parameter.
Okay.
The SECI and the plant watch, we probably can cover that with the volunteers we have, but we definitely need to recruit more for score the shore.
Okay.
So outreach, that's a continued coordination for recruiting more volunteers as well. We're looking for people, well, Gary, you've already mentioned, we were looking for people to go door to door and talk to their neighbors and pass out this information that we have and,
Hmm.
get the word out on what this project is all about. So, so we're still recruiting. So as you're doing this, Gary, if you're talking to people, tell 10 people and hopefully they can tell 10 people, get them to, see if they can, take another block or, another area. And
Exactly. Hmm.
so make it a pyramid. So,
Okay.
um, okay, the All Eyes on the Water program. I'm going to give a quick demo of that in a couple minutes. So I'll just move on and cover the rest of the agenda right now. The Score the Shore program that I talked about, this is where we really need more volunteers, but it's going to be one of the most important pieces of data collection for our watershed management plan. Volunteers are actually going to survey sections of the shoreline and document things like erosion, runoff concerns, habitat conditions, and shoreline practices. Okay, that information gives us real lake-specific data that consultants can build from instead of starting from scratch. So that's going to save us time. It's going to reduce professional consulting costs because we're already providing the consultants with this data. It's going to strengthen future grant applications, and it's going to help us target projects where they're needed the most. Okay, so the surveys will take place between mid-June and mid-August. So it's like an 8-week period. We have like 282 sections, and these are 1,000-foot sections that we would ideally like covered. We can prioritize sections that are kind of like in the main lake areas, but these 282,000-foot sections also include, all of our channels as well. So, but the commitment to do this is extremely flexible. All we're asking you to do is tell us how much time you can commit. Okay. And if you enjoy being out on the lake anyway, become an observer. If you can give us just 1 hour, we'll take it because once again, we have, these 282,000-foot sections of shoreline that we would like to document. So even 1 hour would get a couple of those done. So the more volunteers, of course, the better. So you can, some volunteers will cover small sections of shoreline while others may choose to do more. So every section completed adds value to the project. And when I share my screen for the All Eyes on the Water demo, I'll take you to that page as well to show you where you can sign up for that. Upcoming meetings, events, and key dates. First of all, we have Welcome Back to the Lake, and that's on May 16th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's on Marble Lake on Tip Up Island. I've never been to that event, but I hear it's a lot of fun, and so that's not this weekend, but it's the following weekend. So that's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll have a table set up there with our outreach brochures and once again some of the literature that we picked up last week at the conference. Keep Coldwater Clear's native plant sale. That pickup date is Memorial Day weekend. That's Sunday, May 24th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's at the Coldwater Lake Association building on Warren Road. And if you did not place an order for plants, we will have a limited number of plants on site for walk-up sales. If you come early, you should be able to get a plant even if you hadn't pre-ordered it. And we also are going to have a vendor there that will be selling more native plants as well as hanging baskets. So please come out for that. And that vendor also will be talking about native plants along the shoreline and those benefits. So we'll have some experts there to give some guidance. And then once again, I think our new board member is going to be there as well. And he has the experience with the bioengineering and just what is the healthiest lakeshore environment to have as far as landscaping goes. June 4th is our next stakeholder meeting. So that will be this meeting. And we are hoping to have our first steering committee meeting once again before Labor Day, but we need to work out those logistics first. So I'll be getting that announcement out. Okay, so that is all the agenda except for the All Eyes on the Water, and then I'm going to take you through that Score the Shore sign up as well. So I'm going to share my screen right now. 1 second. Share. And then I will take you through this brief demo. I try to make it brief. I'm not always super successful with my briefness, but I try, guys. I'm getting better. Okay, so let's see. Now I can go ahead and maximize that, and then I can minimize this so I can see it. Okay, so if you have not been to our website, please come out and take a look at it. We've actually had a lot of positive feedback on this. This is the homepage, of course, but we need people to take that survey. That's part of our outreach campaign. We need people to get involved. So this is where we find our volunteer. I'm going to come back to this All Eyes on the Water in a moment. The watershed management menu gives us we're actually posting some of the data that we already have out there. For example, we have our weed treatment data out there right now, and we'll continue to update this. Best practices is where you can take a look on what every individual could do to help a little bit. Every accumulated effort makes a big difference. Okay. The news page, I want to point this out right away. I try to update the news page at least once a month with a fresh article. Um, but the one that we just posted is congratulations to the Little Swan Creek Watershed Grant Team on Major Eagle Award. I don't know if you guys know anything about this, but Swan Creek Watershed is just two watersheds over from us, west of us. These folks have been working on trying to get a grant to do their watershed management plan now for 4 years. Um, grants, watershed management plan grants are very competitive. They only, there was only $275,000 last year statewide. And these folks got 85,000 of that. So, there's only 2 or 3 awards that go out every year. It's very competitive. So we will be applying for that grant in the fall. But once again, we cannot count on that money, which is why we're doing, why fundraising is so important to us. So we can get started on this watershed management plan, and not wait to rely strictly on grant money. But these people are going to be meeting with us at the end of this month to share their expertise, you know, give us their insights, help us. So when we do apply for the grant in September, October is when it comes out, we can benefit from their experience, and they have 4 years worth of experience here. So we really appreciate their cooperation with us on this. The other thing that I want to point out in this article is this is their other partners. And you'll see they're in Branch County, but they're also half of their watershed is also in St. Joe County. So some of it doesn't overlap with us, but any, Branch County participants, partners are the same partners we're working with. Branch County Drain Commissioner, they're working with Matson Township. We're working with the um, Coldwater Chain Improvement Board, which is all of the townships in our watershed, which is Yancey, Ovid, Kinderhook, and Quincy. So we're working with our townships, Coldwater GIS department. We've already reached out to them. St. Joe, no, St. Joe is in their area. Friends of St. Joe River. Once again, that's our fiscal sponsors. And then Branch Hillside, so St. Joseph Community Health Agency. Joe Frazier has already attended some of these meetings and will be on our steering committee as well. So, it's just good to see, how these partnerships are coming together, and it just gives us positive hope for our project moving forward in a very positive way. Okay. One other thing is our contribute page. Please go to the donate page. Once again, we have an $180,000 goal here. Only reached 3% of that so far. We're hoping to see that increase now that we can accept tax deductible donations. So you'll be seeing more fundraising efforts from us as well. Okay, before we go on to All Eyes on the Water, I will go to the volunteer page and show you how to do that Score the Shore. We did cover these in our volunteer. We had 2 volunteer meetings. We had our outreach meeting, and then we had our monitoring volunteer meeting. So this is a little bit repetitive, so I'm not going to go over all the details. If you missed those meetings, we do have those recorded, and you can find those recordings on our website.
Mhm.
But and Gary, you've seen this. This is where
Yes.
you signed up for outreach very quickly. For those that are watching this recorded version, you would just click on on the grid on the area that you would want to monitor, and or do some canvassing, and it'll take you to a link. And in that link, you just simply select your name from the list. If your name's not in the list, you just have to fill out the volunteer form and give us your contact information. So similarly, we have monitoring sign up, and that is down here under interactive monitoring schedules. So what we have here is our three parameters that our monitoring volunteers are doing. These are not the advanced parameters, but these are the three other parameters: the SECI, the plant watch, and the score the shore. Along with each, so on each parameter, we have the schedule shown. And then on Score the Shore, we don't have a schedule. We're just asking how many hours can you contribute? Okay. And then we will assign, and then we will assign um, shorelines. However, if you don't want us to assign the shoreline and you want to pick the shoreline, you can click on the map. Okay, so this is the Score the Shore map, and you can see these are the 1,000-foot sections that we have to cover. So if you want to pick your own section, you can do that. You just have to fill out our contact information form first, and then once again, just click on a section, and it'll take you to the link. And then in here, you just simply, it works just like our outreach did. You would just, click on the drop-down list, find your name. If your name's not in here, it just means that you have not given us your contact information yet. So there's, the volunteer contact information is under the volunteer link up here. So it takes you there. It's just your contact information that we need. And then there's a waiver that you need to sign for monitoring, water monitoring. So that is very simple. And this is not necessary if you don't want to fill this out. If you just tell us how many hours you can commit, we can, get back to you and ask you to take a certain bit of shoreline. But if you want to choose your shoreline, that's how you do it. Okay. To sign up for any parameter. So once again, we have SECI, and then we have Plant Watch. So if you want to sign up for any of these three and you haven't done so yet, let me just point out that we also have maps for all of these parameters. We just looked at Score the Shore, but our SECI map is a little bit different. What we have here are coordinates that we are doing SECI testing. So like if you click on number 1, it tells you that's the deep basin. Now for my core, we only have to do the deep basin for my core. And as a matter of fact, that's the only data that we're going to be turning into them. However, and so if you take a look at all of the lakes, these are all the deep basins. So we've got those coordinates already identified. There's also an app that you'll be using to record this data, and the app also has these coordinates on there, and it shows you your current location, so you'll know exactly where you are on the lake and if you're in the right spot. Now, if you take a look at Coldwater, we have several locations other than the deep basin. And the reason that is because this is our second year doing the SECI testing on Coldwater, and we've already identified some areas of concern, places that we see culverts coming in, places where, water's coming in from, other channels, or like down here in the Coldwater, there's a little Coldwater lake, or hidden lake, they call it. So any areas that we see nutrients possibly coming in from other locations, we are going to be doing SECI testing in those areas as well. So that's the purpose of Coldwater having numerous SECI locations and the other lakes not. As we start identifying these other areas on the lakes, once we start doing Score the Shore, it'll definitely let us know where we need to watch. Then we'll start adding, more coordinates to this map as well.
Okay.
Plant Watch, once again, we have the schedule, but here's the map. And once again, in the app where you'll be recording your data, it looks exactly like this, but in addition to these polygons that are out here, you'll see any current data that's already been mapped. And actually there's some test data out there that I need to clear out. So we start that fresh on next week. So I'll be clearing that out today. But if you take a look at this map, these polygons are where we know there's problems. These are areas that have already been treated for invasive weeds. So we know we're going to find invasive weeds here. We want to come back and look for them. Progressive Companies does monitor these areas as well. They monitor the entire shoreline a few times a year, but the more we do this, and we can report back to Progressive that yes, we found an invasive plant in this area. When they come out, they'll confirm that and add that to the treatment areas as well. We need to keep on top of these invasive species. I know there's a lot of controversy on weed treatments, and we're looking into some alternatives for weed treatments, but chemicals are never going to go away. We need to keep these invasive weeds intact, but we are looking at other alternatives for possibly reducing that, things like benthic barriers, dash, but those are very expensive, and we'll probably will take some planning and coordination before we see any changes in our current program, which is actually administered through the Marble-Coldwater um, uh, Improvement Board. And once again, that's all of our township supervisors and drain commissioner and county commission. So, but this is, once again, where areas have already been treated. And then we've already seen the map for Score the Shore. So once again, to sign up for these 3 parameters, you go to one of the schedule pages and you click on the sign up link. And then you just find your name in the list. If your name is not in the list, once again, we just need your contact information. So you click on this, my name is not listed, and it'll take you to, the form to provide your contact information. So let me go ahead and pick my name here. I hit continue. And then so the first parameter we're asking for is Score the Shore. And once again, this is where we're going to need about 40 volunteers to sign up and tell us what they can commit to. And all they need to do is pick the group of lakes. We've split this in, instead of individual lakes, because all the lakes are different sizes, we split it into 3 groups: Coldwater, Long, and Marble. And Coldwater, and then Long through Archer, and then Marble and First. And the reason why we grouped it this way is because this gives us between 90 and 100-foot, 1,000-foot sections per group. Okay, so that's why it's grouped like that. So you would pick your group, and then you would just tell us how many hours you're willing to commit in that 8-week period. That's all we need to know. Once again, if you want to pick your shoreline, instead of us assigning one, that's optional. So I'm just going to hit skip for now, to show you the SECI page. Once again, here you're just going to pick your lake. And as you can see, Coldwater, is broken into 4 different sections. Remember, I showed you all of those coordinates on the SECI page. So, it's broken into Coldwater North, which includes, 1 and 2, Coldwater West, 3 and 4, 6, Coldwater East is 0.6 and 7, and Coldwater South is 8, 9, 10, and 11. So you would just, pick, a lake, or a piece of a lake, if we have it broken down like that, and then tell us what week you're available to do any testing. Now, these dates I think are all on Wednesdays. We picked Wednesday because it's midweek. It's when there's probably the least amount of traffic out there. But you don't have to do it on a Wednesday. You can do it any day that week. So this says week of, so you just let us know, when you would be available to do that testing. And that'll fill in that schedule for us, so our lead volunteers can then see how much, area is covered, and where the gaps are, and, where they need to provide coverage, either themselves or, by contacting some volunteers. Let me
Okay.
point out,
Hey,
if
Margie, can I interrupt for a second? Is all of this in the recorded Zoom meeting from the monitoring one that you did?
it is, with the exception of the form I'm showing you right now, is new. What we
Okay.
had folks doing there was going directly to the spreadsheets. And we had some folks saying that they were having difficulty doing that because it's not real user friendly from like a mobile device. So we
Hmm.
created this sign up app. So this is a little bit different. So I actually want to so this app is now out on the website,
Okay.
in lieu of that recorded presentation that I made. So
Okay.
Okay, but yeah, that's a good question. This app is new, and that's because since that meeting, we've discovered that, it wasn't real user friendly, especially from a mobile device.
Okay,
So
well, I
this
do
isn't
plan on going through that Zoom meeting on this, so that'll help, but
okay.
it helps me to
I
know
would
that
still
this is
go through.
different than what that
Yes,
was.
still go through that meeting because it covers the how the apps work and how to record the data in the apps. So the
Okay,
meeting is still beneficial, and I possibly will just edit, that Zoom meeting to include, this app, this sign up form.
sure.
One other let me point out, like if I choose Coldwater West, notice that there's only 2 weeks to sign up. That's because it's already filled. Those other
Oh,
weeks
I
have
see.
already filled. So
Okay,
this will, and once again, this is much more user friendly than trying to go to the sheet and figure out,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So this, once again, community feedback helps and we make improvements as we go. So
right.
and then for exotic aquatic plant watch, once again, we would like people to sign up for this so we have an idea of, we would like to get monitoring all season long and in on all of our lake areas. But my core doesn't require like with Seki, they tell us, okay, we want our deep basin numbers, every other week. That's a requirement. And so with Plant Watch, they're not telling us how often we need to do this. They're just as much as you can. So it's not required that we fill in this SECI form, or I'm sorry, this Plant Watch schedule, but it is going to help our monitors know, our lead monitors know, what areas we should be focusing on, if there's a lot of gaps in the area. So once again, you just, select your lake, and Marble is broken up into north and south. Coldwater is broken up into 4 sections. And then once again, likewise, you just, choose whatever dates you would be able to do that. Um, and then the other thing is, even if you have not signed up for a week, if you're out on the water and you feel like throwing a rake in the water and pulling up some weeds and document it, you do just because you're not signed up for that particular week, all data points count. So feel free to, do this, even if you are not signed up for that week. So
Okay,
I'm going to skip that. It's just telling me you haven't signed up for any parameters, go back to the beginning, but I'm going to close. I've actually already signed up for my parameters. So just wanted to show that to you. And then finally, this brings us to the all eyes on the water. And what this is there is no training involved here. It doesn't matter um, if you are a monitoring volunteer, if you're an outreach volunteer, it's open to anybody who's on the water. We want anybody reporting anything that looks suspicious. So it's
okay,
very similar to our monitoring apps, but they don't have to have the training to use it. We just want people to report if they can install this on their mobile device, just like our monitoring apps can be installed on the mobile device. They open it, it brings them, gives them some instructions here on how to use this. And then there's 2 different modes here. If you take a look, this little boat here is where I am currently at. I'm in Chicago. So if I wanted to report, that I seen an invasive species, but I'm already back in Chicago and I, took a picture of it when I was there yesterday, then I can't do it from GPS mode. I have to go into manual mode. Ideally,
gotcha.
we want you to do this in GPS mode because that's going to give us the exact latitude and longitude coordinates. If you're doing it in manual mode, it might not be quite as accurate. But so what you would do is basically, zoom into the area where you found this, problem. If it was an algae bloom, if it was, a sick fish, anything like that, you would go ahead and just click. It'll put, a little temporary marker on there. You can see that it has now populated the latitude and longitude. Once again, if you're in GPS mode, that's automatic. You don't have to click on anything. It tells you what lake you're on. You fill in your name, your email address, and phone number. So we have contact information in case we have follow-up questions for you. And then you tell us, what are you reporting? And when you click on that list, you'll see things like exotic aquatic plants. Maybe you don't know if it's an exotic aquatic plant. Doesn't matter. Report it anyway. We'll figure it out. If we don't know what the picture is, then we'll send it on to the professionals at MyCore and they can investigate.
Okay.
You can report invasive aquatic animals. If you see, mussels out there and you're not sure if they're invasive or if they're natural, take a picture. And, once again, we will, look at it ourselves and forward it on. And if we don't know what we're doing, we forward it on to the professional. Same thing with an algae bloom. Doesn't matter if you think it's a harmful algae bloom or if it's, we want to know about all algae blooms. Algae blooms can be avoided. We want algae is in all water, but when we have excessive algae, it means we have excessive nutrients, and algae blooms can be toxic. So we need to know about those. Not that we can test for everything because it's expensive to do so, and we might not have the budget to do the testing. But if we can get it documented and we know, the occurrences and what the weather conditions are and what's bringing these on and where the nutrients are coming from, is the key on how we can address these. Same thing with suspicious foams. All lakes will have foam, at one time or another that's caused by decomposing plants and things like that. But if we're seeing a lot of excessive foam, we need to know when those occurrences are happening so we can identify where these nutrients are coming from. And, they might not be, it could be, things like PFAS, that we need to be testing for. And once again, those tests are very expensive, so we might not have the resources to do that immediately. However, we will report that to Eagle, and we are actually already, because we've already have these photos that we've given to Eagle, we are now on their targeted monitoring list. So probably not going to happen until 2027 because they're always like a year once you start targeted monitoring. 2026 schedule is already filled, but we're on their radar, we're on their list. So we know we're going to have that monitoring done, by
Margie, how
2027.
often might it be valuable to provide things like a photo, such as suspicious foam?
Anytime you see it, and that's what this app is all about. So if you
Okay.
see it, please use this app, take the photo and upload it, through this
Do
app.
you want it to do it and upload it right away? What if I've got some photos from weeks ago that
If you have, if you have past photos and you know the date and the location, use this manual mode that I'm doing right now. But you have to use a computer. You're not going to be able to do it on your phone. If you do it on your phone, it wants you to use your camera. It's not going to let you upload a previous photo from your that's on your phone. But if
okay.
you do it from a computer, as a matter of fact, let me do that. If I click on the photo button, if it says take a photo,
Hmm.
it now is at, because I'm on my computer, it's asking me to upload the photo from my computer. If
Gotcha.
I'm on my phone, it's going to take me to my camera.
Gotcha.
So if you're, once again, if you're live, use your phone. Um, if you and use your camera. If you are doing it after the fact and reporting it, do it on a computer and you'll be able to upload,
And most of the times, although I don't know how people typically do it, but I'm pretty sure I can get my latitude and longitude live on my phone, so I know exactly what the location is. So I
yeah.
can actually tweak it
Right.
and
And if
dial it into
and
that.
once again, the apps will actually, if I'm in GPS mode, it gives me my latitude and longitude. If I'm
Hmm.
in mobile mode, if I know, like if I know this was the area that I seen this and I click on it, that populates the latitude and longitude. So you don't necessarily need to come up with that on your own. It will do it for you. You see
Okay.
it automatically populates it just when you click that little orange mark is just temporary until you actually hit submit. And then it
Okay.
turns into either a light green, which means it's an exotic plant. It turns into red if it's an animal, it turns into green if it's an algae bloom, and it turns into gray if it's a suspicious foam, and
So
then
you don't
brown.
necessarily have to identify that. It'll do that
No.
through the photo.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
no. I'm sorry, when you select this drop down,
Gotcha. Okay.
what are you reporting? You're saying I'm reporting an exotic aquatic plant. And when you click on that, and once again, no retraining is required here. So when you click on that, it'll say, well, what did you find? And you click on the list and it brings up all of the aquatics, that we're kind of keeping an eye on. But you don't have to know. You can say unknown. And as
Right.
long as you're
Okay.
sending us that photo, we'll identify it. And if we don't
Okay.
can identify it, my core will identify it for us. So
All right.
it might not be an invasive plant, but at least we know that that there's a concern. Maybe it's still a thick patch that, we need to take a look at. The other thing
Sure.
is a lot of these invasive plants are mutating with our native plants. So, it might be a hybrid version, and we need to know about those as well. So,
Okay.
so yeah, this is for anybody. And then depending on what parameter you click on, it'll ask you different questions like wind direction, like what the habitat was, things like that. Invasive aquatic animals, similar questions. And it doesn't even have to be, it could be a sick fish that you're reporting. The algae blooms is the other one. And then it's still very similar questions, wind direction and where, and suspicious foam has a few additional questions, um, like the texture of the foam, the color of the foam, things like that. So there's a few more
Okay.
questions there if you click suspicious foams. The other thing is just choosing other, and then you would just say what you found. For example, if it's heavy rains, and we just had this occur, we've got pictures of mud coming in from Fisher Creek into Marble Lake. And so we don't have that recorded out here yet, but we're going to get that up here shortly. And that is a sign of either heavy nutrients or um, shoreline erosion that's coming in that
Hmm.
definitely needs to be addressed. So we need to know that. And the more people that are documenting this and sharing this information, the better.
Okay.
Okay. So
Good.
so once again, I've been kind of clicking around because I think I'm going to enter a new report. But if you look at these existing reports, the gray one, if I click on that, it tells me this suspicious phone was found on this date. Okay. And it
Okay.
doesn't it doesn't say who reported it, because we want people to report this and they can remain, anonymous.
Sure.
But we ask for their contact information if we need to follow up with them. But we're not we're not going to display that here because
Right.
this also is shared on our website. It's on our data page of our website.
Okay.
So the gray areas, once again, are suspicious foam. The green areas are algae blooms. Okay, so,
Okay.
and then once again, it'll all be color coordinated. So, and the legend is over here. So that
Okay.
is the all eyes on the water. Any other questions on that before I close up the page and
No,
stop my
thank you.
share? Okay. Okay, so once again, more eyes on the water, the more data points we collect, and that is critical to, watershed management planning and where we need to focus our implementation strategies. So let me go back to Zoom. I'll stop my share. And that is the end of my presentation. And it's opened up now to questions and answers. I know we kind of been fielding those as we've been going. Greg is on the call. Greg, you want to jump in here and ask for more questions or?
Yeah, I'm not sure I've met Gary before, but greetings, Gary.
Hi, Greg. I was on the original volunteer
Okay,
for Reach Out. I have not gone through the monitoring Zoom video yet,
okay.
but I'm learning a lot through this, and I'll go through that, and I should be able to spend some time doing some of the things we talked about today.
All right, cool. Because I'm the vice president of the partnership, and I also am the lead monitoring volunteer for all of the Coldwater end of the chain. So I'll be busy with a lot of testing and corralling volunteers and such. But
Okay.
And,
if there's any
Greg,
questions,
let me jump in here a second. Greg, Gary is also an outreach volunteer, so he needs some trifolds and some of the magazines that we just picked up.
all right,
So
perfect.
I'm going to send him your contact information so you
Yeah,
can coordinate that.
sounds good.
Yeah.
We might
Okay.
be able to get that done today, Greg.
Pardon me?
We might be able to get that done today if you have that at your place. I've got to do some running in a little while.
Yeah,
So if you're available.
I am.
Okay. All right. I'll reach out once I get the contact information then, Margie.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. I don't know who else is on the call, but do we have any other questions? Hey, it's under an hour again. I'm making progress here. And by the way, I'm going to have help in future meetings. Once again, if you attended the outreach, we had Kirsten presenting and we had Linda presenting. They're awesome. So you guys don't have to listen to me all the time. And Greg's been handling the Q&As and if you guys are sick of me and my presentations, we will have other people take, sharing that responsibility. So that's going to work out well too. So once again, we need more outreach volunteers and we need that score the shore is a big one. And that's going to give us the most bang for the buck. So if people can focus their efforts there. And then, of course, we can always use more, SECI and Plant Watch volunteers as well. But we're doing pretty good with those. I think, Greg, you could probably use some more volunteers on your end. We got Coldwater is looking good, but we probably need some more volunteers on the other end to give you
Yeah,
a hand. So.
I'll be hitting up people hard at the welcome back to the lake. Welcome back to the lake. We need your help.
There we go.
I'll be a broken record at that meeting, trying to get people. I've got all the handouts and contact information be able to put right in their hands. So I'm cautiously optimistic about it, but I'll do my best.
And Greg, I don't know at what point you got on, but I made the announcement that we have our fiscal sponsorship, the agreement signed, and we're just working out the logistics for the webpage. So the money goes directly to them. Can't
All
come
right.
to us. That would not be allowed. So the money has to go to Friends of St. Joe,
All
and
right.
they'll hold it for us and pay our bills as they come in. So
I did talk to Mark yesterday, and his goes to the partnership. So
oh, okay, good, good. So wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful. Okay. Um,
Hey Greg,
okay.
how many eggs did you collect so far?
This year, I don't have that tally, but I know that over the 3 years that we've been doing it, we've surpassed 1,050 eggs.
Oh, great.
And we're going out tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow I think will be our last collection day. It ends on the 10th.
No, it
but,
ends, the reports have to be in by the 9th. Did they
uh,
extend?
I thought I heard the 10th, but we're going out tomorrow, so that's the last day we're actually going out. So
Okay,
Dennis handles that part of it. I'm just the brute force. My son and I go out with him, and I really don't know what we're doing tomorrow. We might be hitting multiple places on the chain, but the island right in front of us has been pretty much the hot spot. We find usually around 80 eggs per trip out there, 80 to 100. Yeah, and
unbelievable.
you
We're
take and
not
you
finding nearly that many on Coldwater. So,
no, and you extrapolate that out to the progeny, and you're just like, that's just so much of a reduction over time that yeah, we hope to keep it going and expand. We have some areas that we can't get to very easily. We're looking at different ways to be able to, because when they're back up on the edge of shore, right now we're just using a pontoon and kind of pushing our way up to be able to reach them. But we may expand, the ability with, say, canoes or kayaks or things that can get into more shallow water than a pontoon to be able to access more of those eggs. And that's more down by the long chain or the long channel and long lake.
Mhm.
So, but we rarely go out and get, say, less than 30 or so, but typically around 80 or so. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of, most of the geese aren't too bad, but occasionally you get one that's not in a very good mood about us taking their eggs, and they'll put up a little bit of a ruckus,
So,
but
so what do you do? Somebody said to use an umbrella to ward them off.
we haven't really had to, but there's usually a lot of sticks around, or you don't go by yourself for one, so
Yeah.
one person can ward them off. We had a rake at one. Oh, we our last board meeting, well, the one that I was at, we went and got eggs over by one of the campgrounds, and Dennis said, I'll man the rake and you can get the eggs. So I said, okay, got my gloves on and started putting them in the bucket. And it's usually the male that likes to protect the egg nest. And it was getting kind of raucous. And Dennis like backs off with the rake. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? The thing like coming at me. Like, how about I take the rake? But yeah, you usually don't have too much of that, but you definitely wouldn't want to go out by yourself and, without any kind of stick or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, we usually have at least two guys and usually three or four. But
Yeah.
I
Okay.
definitely
Good.
think it's help. I definitely think it's helping. I mean, we used to see, just flocks of them out here, and I think it's especially later in the summer. I don't know why that is, but later in the summer, like they're just not as round as much.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the other thing that is going to help is educating the people on the shoreline buffers. Once we get shoreline buffers on these waters, the geese aren't going to be coming up on the lawns.
Right.
The manicured lawns is what's attracting them. So they're
Yeah.
not going to be right on the water's edge if we have buffer strips along the water's edge.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
gonna it makes a huge difference, as we know. So
They won't. Yeah, it seemed like from the Lake and Stream meeting, that was quite a large push by Eagle and others.
yes,
I
yeah,
mean, they're really high on the naturalization and the benefits of it.
yeah.
So
So
I don't
and
quite
we see and we've seen what the results are. I
right.
mean, the crystal clear oligotrophic lakes are very um um natural shorelines. So
The
And
water is so clear right now. The water
yes,
looks
oh
terrific right now.
yeah.
yeah,
Wish we could have this all summer
I
over
know, it
here.
would be nice.
Margie, just why I think of it, at the presentation on Black Lake and Higgins Lake, the professor from GVSU, he's like a water resource specialist or something like that. He's a PhD scientist in water issues, and I had some questions after their presentation and got talking about all kinds of stuff. He's a trout fisherman, and I trout fish and stuff. But anyway, he offered to come and talk sometime.
oh really? Okay, good. So you got his contact information.
Yeah, he's because
Okay.
he said because of what, and it was actually that Kaiser and Associates, who's the environmental engineering firm. Much they're a competitor of Progressive, but they do the same sort of thing. They worked with this professor on they're working on currently some research, some new technology for phosphorus reduction.
Oh,
That
okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They have these different ways that they're adding, say, some kind of electrode into a septic tank, or these things that absorb out phosphorus as it goes from the septic tank to the um, leach field. There was a number of things like that they're pursuing as experimental ways to reduce phosphorus that could potentially be implemented, lake wide in lieu of sewer in a lot of cases, or until sewer, or however you want to look at that.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
Good.
yeah.
Awesome.
It was really interesting.
And,
And they were
they
were
for the
saying
folks, go ahead.
like in some of their experimental models, it was reducing the phosphorus to like really high 90% and stuff. It was really encouraging.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Sounds good. Yeah.
For the folks on the call, Greg and I and Ernie attended the Michigan Lakes and Streams Association conference last weekend, and it's awesome. But during the breakouts, there's all kinds of different meetings going on. So Greg and I split up, and we were very rarely in the same room at the same
Mm-mm.
time. We would just kind of meet in between during the breaks and fill each other in. So we both came back with a ton of information and contacts and did a lot of networking there. So likewise, we're making these contacts that are willing, professionals that are willing to come and talk to our, stakeholders. The other one that I made was this Erica from Michigan Sea Grant, who will actually come out and facilitate our first steering committee meeting. And
Oh,
and it's actually going to be a lot of fun. I mean, they make this fun. They
yeah.
really do. It's so interesting.
And
So
it ran the gamut from best practices from homeowners to, Michigan law regarding, things that impact riparian owners to, um, you know, people to contact if you have problems with your lake. I mean, it really just spanned the whole spectrum of, everybody. All lakes sort of have the same problems, but they address it in different ways and with different levels of resources. And it was really fascinating how, you know, lake associations are really taking on this issue themselves. I had a conversation with a riparian owner that said, "Oh, I thought Eagle did that," and I'm like, "Oh, no, they get involved if there's a more major issue, but they don't go and do the sort of door-to-door activity and extensive education that lake associations put forth."
right. Yeah.
And
So
Margie,
they
I didn't tell you
partner
that
with us.
field trip was amazing. We went on GVSU's research boat. They have a laboratory right inside the boat, and they go out in Muskegon Lake and they take samples every day, twice a day, and they monitor, what goes into Lake Michigan, and they do all this kind of crazy stuff. And then they've got two buildings that are dedicated strictly for water research. We didn't tour those, but the water, going on the boat itself was fascinating.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, and and
I
ac-
didn't go
and
on that because it was
yeah,
too cold. Was it
yeah,
cold out there?
it actually wasn't bad. And person I was standing next to had a tip of the mitt hat on. I said, "Oh, are you part of tip of the mitt?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm the executive director." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Okay, you're a good person to know." So I got her
Yeah.
card because they employ 12 full-time people with their lake association. They have a budget of $2 million, and so they're like the gold standard in Michigan for a lot of these, um, you know, conservation efforts related to water quality. So good resource. She said, "Call me about anything."
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that was just one of many conversations you and I had. So we have some catching up to do on compiling our contacts and what we learned and all that. But we'll
Yes.
we'll get
Yeah.
we'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have our board meeting coming up on Tuesday, and we,
Okay.
and you and I, of course, talk almost daily. So
Yeah.
we'll get caught up. So,
All right.
okay.
Sounds good.
Well, any other questions, or should we close this out? We finished up just in about an hour, so I'm getting better. And did it work okay with no PowerPoint presentation or
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, it was good.
okay?
Yeah. Margie, can you get me Greg's contact information right away and then I'll get a hold of
Yes,
him?
I will send that to you right away. As soon as I'm off the call, I will
I
email that.
Sounds good.
I can
Okay.
eat. I
Okay.
can
We'll be in
even.
touch, Greg.
All right.
Well,
Thank you.
Greg, do you want to just tell him?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
can
you
Who
want
you're
I
going to?
can send it through the chat right now.
Oh,
okay.
perfect.
Let me get to there.
Do you
Chat.
have your chat window up, Gary?
I will.
Chat. Okay.
So anybody else who needs brochures or monitoring questions, Greg, you all for monitors, you also have the plant watch laminated sheet. So if Gary is interested in doing any of that, you might want to give him one of those too. So
You want me to start a chat? Or are you going to?
I just did.
Okay.
So you got my phone number, and then I'll give you my address.
Okay.
I'm not
Perfect.
seeing it.
It's
I don't
only
know
to
why-
Gary. I only
It's
sent it
only
to
Oh,
Gary.
you
Gary.
sent it just to him. Okay, got it. Okay. Did you get it, Gary?
I have the number. Yeah, I'm gonna get the address here in a second, I think. Which probably needs, we probably need to stay connected, so.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm not going to close the call till you get everything.
You got it?
Yes, I do.
All right, cool.
Okay, sounds good. I'm all set.
Okay, real
All right,
good.
we'll talk soon.
All right.
Okay, thanks
All right,
everyone.
thanks,
Yep. See
everybody.
you, Margie. See you, everybody.
Okay, take
Okay,
care.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Good.